Joining us now to talk more about the market so far this year. Yesterday was the first, right? So you know what we should do? Nelson Griggs is president of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. Let's talk about the first half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Let's do that, Joe.
You got any numbers for that? So 17.7 billion, 97 IPOs, same period last year, under 15 billion.
Yeah. So this is reaching 2014 levels, where we saw it was a high for us, about 190 IPOs for the year, raising over about 30 billion. So we're on that pace.
We're on that pace right now. I guess because we've looked so closely, Leslie has done such a great job. Every one of these that's come out, I've been IPO'd to death. Anyway, the second
IPO'd to death.
Sort of.
Yikes.
I mean, I kind of feel bad. I was a stockbroker. I never got a single IPO ever. Never for my client. Never even got 100 shares for my best client. So it was always
you were highly ranked.
Well, and buy them after it opens. Oh, great, thanks. Anyway, that never happens. Yeah. So the second half can't possibly match up, at least with the name brands.
I think you'll be a bit surprised.
Really?
We're going to slow down a bit in July and August. We only have about 20 deals on Nasdaq scheduled to go, but September is going to be a pretty robust month. Some names that we're pretty excited about that I think you'll be we don't until they're publicly filed. We can't actually say the names, but you've been covering them.
The highest profile names that are coming public.
WeWork.
This year.
WeWork.
WeWork, maybe. I want to talk about that. Postmates.
Peloton.
Is WME coming?
Who else?
WME is on.
Wow. There's a lot of great names you're putting out there.
Which are going to be the best?
Which are going to be the best? Well, I think Kelly highlighted what the investors are looking for, and clearly they were paying a lot more for growth than they ever have.
We need to keep the camera on you.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Your face.
I'm going to turn away.
Reactions.
Now, we don't talk about names unless they're publicly filed. You've seen some that actually announced that they've filed with the SEC, so those names are out there in the public forum. Their timing, though, is TBD. But again, I think we'll get through a slow July, August, September, October, November. Companies are definitely thinking about 2020 being a potential slowdown. You have the election coming up. That tends to be a slower IPO year for us in general. So I think the whole industry is saying, let's try to get out if we can now, because
I've got a hypothetical for you.
Sure.
Let's say there's a big company out there that has a valuation based on private markets, or at least private last round. Let's say the company was worth something like $47 billion. Okay? Just
hypothetically.
Just hypothetically.
And let's say in the private markets today, that stock is trading like half, or less than that, $23 billion. Can a company like that go public? What kind of internal machinations have to happen for something like that to happen?
Well, if you go back 2 years, all the talk was, can you go out with a down round? And everyone kind of was really worried about that. But there have been a handful of companies, quite a few, that have gone out with a lower valuation than what their last private round was. I think the whole investors are over that idea.
Who's over that idea?
Well, investors. They're buying these companies that may have a round that's lower than what it was in the private.
And they're willing to accept that?
I think they are.
So you think if there's a hypothetical company out there like that, they would just still go public at a lower number?
We are seeing companies stay public a lot longer than ever. At some point, they need the liquidity, so that's when they're going public.
But I think to Andrew's point, we haven't really seen anyone see their valuation cut in half from their private round. We've seen
cut
them
in half would be fairly
down
dramatic.
a little bit, but
that'd be fairly dramatic. Yeah, cut in half. We have not seen that, but we've seen the 10% lower, maybe 20% lower. But that's kind of the range.
Hey guys, that company's WeWork. Just in case you wanted to know.
Hypothetically.
Nelson, would you know if it was getting frothy? What's the one thing that would tell you in the past that things are getting frothy?
Yeah, I think that if you look at the IPOs, really, right now you have the average tech IPOs up about 45%. The Nasdaq composite's up about 25%. So we're seeing that's a pretty big gap that we're seeing there, which is encouraging for the IPOs. But they're really benchmark off their public comps. So I think you have to look at the public market to say, is there froth in the public markets? Because all the private companies are finding comparables. So thinking about all the great cloud companies that are public, they're doing exceptionally well as well.
That doesn't help. That's like when you exchange 10 really expensive cats for 5 really expensive dogs, right?
Right, and sometimes the market is.
Geez, the public market. I mean, what if the public market is frothy?
Well, I think then you see obviously an impact on the IPO market. So what I'm saying is the performance of the public market drives the private market.
But I like what you said before about how there is this pressure to try and come out this year before next year. I've heard that from a lot of places, too. Is that a sign that people think the top is near and you better get out before the market's
I think it's a sign of, does the economy slow down in 2020? You have the presidential election. Every election cycle, we see the IPO market about 10 or 20% lower in terms of number of deals during election. You lose the fall a lot. So I think that's why they're saying that right now.
That's what I just wonder from a retail investor's perspective. Is that thinking, oh, great, I've got to get in on these IPOs, or is it better to kind of hold off? If the CEOs think there may be a downturn coming, maybe you should wait too.
Well, again, you look at the 14 was strong, 15, 16. The companies Atlassian, think about it, held off on that. Well, that stock has done exceptionally well. Okta, Coupa, all the cloud companies are doing exceptionally well in the public market.
Usually in an IPO cycle, you see the highest quality companies come out toward the beginning, and then over time, as that cycle continues, you see lower quality companies come out that don't perform as well. Where do you think we are kind of in that cycle?
Where are we in the
We're definitely not.
Are we seeing lower quality companies, or do you expect to see some toward the second half?
There's some really high quality companies. So you have 360 unicorns out there. There's about 18 that have a valuation of 10 billion or greater. So companies are really growing in the private market to scale. They have a track record, and the ones we have for the fall are really, very strong deals.
Nelson, I'd be shocked if you said anything else.
Wouldn't you? Why would I say? I did let you know that the next year could be slower, but right now it's about as good as it's been in a long time.
I mean, Nelson, he's doing what he has to do. So I'm going to interview you. What is what's your most? Is there an exciting IPO that you're most excited about?
Well, I think in terms of excitement, similar to Andrew, I'm excited for WeWork because I think it'll be really, really interesting to cover. Just from a story standpoint, I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to that deal.
You're also being very politic in how you're saying.
That's true. Well, I'm not excited to buy any because I can't buy into any.
Can.
So we're not allowed to, buy into individual names, especially of those that we cover.
You were allowed, you still couldn't. Right.
Yeah, we'd be sitting on a beach maybe.
A lot of international deals as well. So China is strong. We see deals out of Brazil. So we hadn't seen Brazil do it for 6 years.
Anheuser-Busch InBev deal that they're talking about, biggest of the year in Hong Kong, $9.8 billion.
Yeah.
What is that?
I have a random question for you.
Really?
Because it goes back to the Hong Kong issue, which is, do you think there will ever be a time, and have you felt any pressure around Chinese companies IPOing here in the United States, and whether you think that's going to, in this larger trade negotiation,
well,
is going to become a meaningful issue?
I think, for the companies can go public, most of their business models are based off their activity in China, so they're not really global companies.
Right.
And then you think from a regulatory perspective, the area that's being looked at is the access to auditors.
Right.
And most of the larger companies, the successful ones, there is that access. So I think we're not really concerned about that.
But you're not concerned that one day, depending on how this trade negotiation goes, the administration or somebody's going to say, you know what, actually, one of the things we're going to do, we're just not going to let you go public in our country. Like, we don't want to, if you're not going to give us access to your markets, we don't want to give you access to ours.
Yeah, that's pretty far out of our control. We obviously have conversations on the Hill about it. We have conversations with the PCOB, so we feel pretty good about the path that we're on right now.
What about the fact that companies like Alibaba and Anheuser-Busch are doing secondary listings, but raising money in Hong Kong? Do you see that as being more of a trend? And
Yeah, I do. Not a surprise at all. I think the Hong Kong market is becoming more receptive to companies like Alibaba, and you'll see more of that. Obviously, Tencent's done fantastic. So we're going to see, I think, more like that going on. Yeah.
But is Adina watching? I mean, are you nervous?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No, she's got a lot going on.
She does.
She's got a lot.
He's relaxed.
You do seem relaxed, but you didn't answer. Are you a boxers or briefs guy? Can you answer that? Are you?
I'm a boxers guy.
I got it.
I can go.
He actually answered. You don't care about that. You'll tell us anything personally. It's just nothing about. Okay, Nelson. Me too, though. By the way.
Are you?
Absolutely.
Why don't you guys high five?
Need room.
Information I thought I'd get this morning.
We may high five.
Thank you, Nelson.